everyone. So, my name is Renata Anderson, and I'm very happy to be here with my friends Suzy and Megan. And today we're going to talk about a very important issue that touch people in every country, I'm sure. It says about working and harassment and toxic relationships. So we are going to develop a little bit about this. And so, Suzy and Megan, could you both introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Suzy. I'm a host in this wonderful podcast, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. I am originally from Cameroon, but I'm sharing with you right now from West Virginia.
Thank you, Suzy.
Hi everyone, Megan here from Cape Town, South Africa. Good to be with you again and looking forward to a new episode with you ladies. Suzy, Renata, good to be here.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Yeah. And so, the idea here today is to talk about what happens in the work and into this relationship and how we can do better because I'm sure we can. So, just to share here, I was telling Susie and Megan when we decided to go for this title that I taught MBA classes for a long time, and this was one of the hardest class because there was always a student crying, always someone harassed, or more, of course, than one. And in the end of the class, it was always a student more shy that come, oh, I want to share something with you. So I think everybody knows someone that have a harassment story, and we are going to talk about that today. So, Susie, can you tell me little bit about your experience and in this domain?
Yes, I will start with I've been to two countries only. For what I've worked in two countries only, so I will start by Cameroon. That there things are so different, because first of all, to find a job is very hard. Once you have it, they really really threaten you to take it away from you anytime soon. They were like, if you don't do your work right, I'll fire you. That's like, you always have the saying. And and you need to do your work right because you don't want to get fired. And there is no like a contract that is protecting you from being shout on or bullied or anything. Like, not really. Maybe there is, but you can't even go and complain. The country is so corrupted. So you can't do any like complaints and all this. So bullying was more in Cameroon. I found out a lot more because most of the job is like family related. It's like there's somebody there that knows everything. So the boss is familiar with your head of department. So it was like a little bit difficult. Like, you can't complain outspokenly because you are the one that are target to fire. So it was different. And also back in Cameroon, like, quality did not really matter. Like, the fact that you know what you're doing did not matter compared to who you know. So it was a little bit of like, who do I know in the system to be at that position? Or does my qualification, am I qualification enough? And generally is no, that your qualification wasn't at that level. Depending on which company you work for too, but most of the company I worked for back home was like relationship wise. That is how you get there, and that is how you even get a job. um and now your qualification, once you have the relationship, now your qualification come into place, because once they give you the position and they see you're good at it, it was like, okay, now we know that you can do something, and now you can increase depending on your relationship too. But your expertise also gives you that leverage to increase. In the US, it was so different. Like, I could complain. I love that. I could go to my boss and say, this is what these people are talking to me anyhow. And they talk to them. They address the fact. You can put an anonymous complaint to the HR department, and they address the fact. So bullying was like, if somebody bullies you, you have the right to complain, and they will be addressed, because it's not who knows who in the company, depending on which company you're working to. But if it's a company that is following the laws, they won't. Like they will address that, they will cover that person regardless of who the person is, which is just so beautiful. Well, I really love that part of it. Like integrity is a thing here. And
Yes.
according to your quality, you have the position you need to have. So if they're hiring, they will not hire. There is still the process of who you know that makes the hiring process easier, but it's more about what you know. So which I really like.
Oh, thank you, Susie. It's a great experience that you have, and that can be able to compare. It's interesting. What about you, Megan? How is in South Africa? How is your own experience about that?
Oh, so Renata, I've got experience across three different sectors. And so I started my working career in the public sector. I was a public servant for the first almost 10 years of my life. And I think I was in that space at a better time before things really got out of hand in the public sector, the same kind of corruption and, just general disregard for integrity and following the processes, etc., that is currently in place and in a lot of these places. I managed to get out of there before it really got that bad. So my experience there was quite pleasant. And then I moved from the public sector into the private sector, into corporate. And that's where my first real toxic experience happened. And I won't go into much detail there. We can maybe look at it a bit later. But I had the experience there that I was on maternity leave and I was replaced. My position was replaced while I was on maternity leave. And I didn't know about it until a colleague let me know what is happening in the
Oh,
office while I was. And yes, I fought it. And yes, it was straightened out in what I feel is the best way possible. But the fact that it happened and that the company just thought that's okay to do is, a frustration. And I'm sure it's a frustration for a lot of people that have been in a similar situation. And then the third experience that I can draw on is now for the third business that I've started, being an entrepreneur. I just think that my experiences in those two other sectors have really for me, brought about the importance of having that integrity and having that proper level of respect for other people, because so deeply feel that that's where it's rooted. It's the respect for other people. It's respect for what they have, what they bring to the table that creates that culture of toxicity or no, I'm not going to accept that in my organization. I'm not building my organization on a foundation of toxicity. So those are my experiences, just to keep it short for the moment.
yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think that's so important to understand. And unfortunately, I feel bad for you that what happened with your maternity time. But that is it's almost a common
Mm,
complaint.
yes,
So the harassment is up until now it's very related to gender, and we as women are the weak link of this harassment stuff, you know. So I think it's very gender based, and yeah, companies still don't understand how to give us the value we have, and
yes,
it's still a process. And what
yes.
about the laws in South Africa? How does it work?
So the laws are there. They they certainly are there, and we've got quite a few different laws that govern the human resources space. But a lot of it comes down to that CEO, that person managing the space, the leader, so to name them, about how it gets carried out and how it gets adhered to. And so many times I've seen leaders and managers really just twist what should be in a workplace to suit their agenda, to for things to run in the way
Yeah.
that they see it running, rather than what in the way that it should be. So yeah, the rules are there, but they're certainly being broken, and
Mm.
they have been for a long time. And I certainly agree with you that women do feel the brunt of it. But I must also admit that my worst experience of a toxic work relationship has been with my female manager.
Mm.
I had the worst experience with a female manager, and that wasn't the experience I mentioned earlier. So yeah, it comes from all sides, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with what Megan said. Like most of the bullying I got from workplace was from the female manager. It was
Yeah.
just so horrible. And I was like, why will you come against me, a female like you? Why are you threatened by me? In any
Mm.
way, they feel threatened that you are more qualified. They feel threatened that you can make better relationship than them. They feel threatened about your every move. Why they shouldn't be at the workplace? For me, as a CEO myself at the workplace, I really make that difference. Like you are, we are at the workplace, we can make this relationship. We are not at the workplace. Like there is, I have this separate of you are my friend at the workplace, you're my colleague. We are not doing
Mhm.
those gossip. I really don't like gossiping. That's why most of my friends are men. I really don't enjoy the gossiping process unless my very close friends, especially talking about work after work, because I'm very separate. After work, I don't want to hear about work in
Yeah.
any way. I don't want to hear about who did what at work. I am not interested. I'm interested in what we are right now. If you are in the drinking coffee, we can do coffee about family. How is family going? We do the family thing, but not talk about like the separate atmosphere, which at the in the long term I saw that it was very profitable, because as a CEO you always have people writing to you. They write to you, they call you every time. What if you're international? You know what I'm talking about. There is no time zone. Like 1 a.m. they call you, 2 a.m. they call you, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Your phone rings all the time. So if you don't put that boundaries,
Yeah.
you see, you'll be bullied by your own employee. And
Yeah.
the things is we are dealing with people, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, it is not easy to deal with people. Once I become a CEO, sometimes I understood the reaction of most people at the leadership position. When you're dealing with people, it's so stressful. There's some people that do it out of their very bad hearts. They don't just have any, some of them, they don't just have any leadership skills. They have none. So they are doing what they know, and what they know is horrible, but they
Yeah.
are they weren't taught to
Yeah.
lead. But for those that are leaders with a lot of people from different culture, it is so difficult, guys. It is very difficult, because what for me is not an offense, it's an offense for you. Like the
Yeah.
way you talk becomes offense for other people. So on the
Right.
fact that I am not formal, I don't call everybody sir, madam. I would say, like sometimes I call my leader, hey. Instead of saying good morning, good afternoon, I'm like hello, and they were like, oh, you have to say good morning, good afternoon. Sorry, in my culture we don't work that way. So now that you're going intercultural, you're going into different cultures and working with different people, the way you talk can be bullying. Why
Yeah.
in your own side you're just trying to be nice. In your own side, it's like you're bullying me because you're
Yeah.
talking this way. And so we really bullying, we really have to look at the aspect of it. Sometimes the person doing the action doesn't even know that he's bullying you. What if you're talking about intercultural? It's very important.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
No, no, it's very interesting that you said that because I have a colleague from my master's, and we were having a class about harassment, and he come from the financial system, very aggressive guy, very, very sweet guy, but his mindset was very, oh, we have very competitive,
yes.
and he worked in New York, in London, and and the way the professor developed the class, he started to understand he was a bullier. He was like, oh, I think that I supposed to be like that because everybody was like
Like
that.
that, yeah.
We didn't understand that that was harassment. And I was like, really? And it was nice to understand, the perspective behind that, because sometimes, so that's why it's so important, the dialogue and the
Talk.
discussion about that, because
Yeah.
otherwise, if I stay in my cave and you in yours, I don't know, I think to be a leader I supposed to do this because all the leaders I know are doing that. And then you
Yeah.
understand, no, but you are affecting people and you are affecting their lives and you are affecting their mental health, and for sure you are affecting their performance. So
Yes.
what are you expecting for your from your team? So Megan bring this leadership and you too, Susie, but leadership is completely related to harassment. So we
Yeah.
we cannot separate one thing from the other. And one thing that is interesting to mention here is how the people that um, are narcissists and make harassments and are bulliers, they choose their victims. And I think this is the most important for us to understand, because they don't waste their time with people that are not able to be bullier. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is a good English or not,
Not
but
able to bully it, yes.
yeah, yes. So they choose their victims.
Yeah.
What is very coward in some way, like, okay, why don't you have someone in with the same energy to fight with you? No, so it's an imbalance of power,
Yeah.
and that's why normally it's also related to gender. Even if you both said this harassment between women, that we know that exists a lot, but maybe because they are copying the male leadership way, and sometimes they want to be harder than the guys. And so what is this energy, this balance of, like, okay, let's collaborate instead of
Yeah.
competing. And so during my life, I started my career as a nurse, and hospitals are a very toxic
Mm,
environment. And so
extremely.
I think it's a lot of stress,
Yeah.
but even with the stress, I completely sure that it could be different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space for improving in this area. And then I worked with the humanitarian, and the humanitarian is what you said, Susie. People from everywhere, from different countries, different backgrounds, religion, everything is different. So it's a mess sometimes to understand um, each other, but it's possible when you have respect, to understand, okay, in my culture is like this, how is it your culture, so we can have a dialogue.
Yeah.
The problem is when you come very top down and say, oh, this is how you should do it, and that's it. And I think that's when the things start to get more complicated.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stress, and if nobody say, okay, let's breathe, and understand why this conflict is raising. So I think it's important. So
Yeah.
in Brazil, as you said, in Cameroon, in South Africa, we have some similarities. We have the laws. The laws are there to um, protect the employee, and some employers will say that the law is too nice with the employee
Yes.
because a lot of times they win in the justice.
Yes.
But it's still, there are a lot of harassment and toxic relationship, because a lot of people say, I need this job, how I'm
Yeah.
going to pay my bills, if I raise
Exactly.
my voice, what will happen? And that is a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because when you let them do it, oh, yeah, some people do.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about harassment and bullying that can happen is a suicide, and that happens. So we are talking about something very, very serious, because you can destroy someone's life, a
Yes.
family, and everything. And if you have like a goal with your team, so destroying them is not going to let you to achieve your goal. So it's the
Yes.
the worst
And
um, idea as possible. I think it's harassment.
yes, I agree with you. After identifying like what harassment what harassment is, we really have to talk about how is the way to counteract that, because it's very important. So
Yeah.
first of all, you need to know what harassment is. Some
Yeah.
people, they harass you without even knowing. Communication, you talked about it. I really loved it. Talk
Yeah.
about it. If somebody is harassing you and you tell the person what you're doing is harassing me, and the person keep doing the same thing, then that's harassment. But if you don't talk about it,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
then that will never go anywhere. And also, I think education is very important.
Oh.
I, as a CEO now, after doing my master's in education, I interact so much better with people. I didn't at first. I was like, as you said earlier, I'm following what others do. That's what I was doing. I was very like, a leader have to be firm, a leader have to speak harsh. That's all I know. A leader have to stand on her ground no matter what, even if you're going to the opposite direction, right into the valley, right into to crash, you have to stand your ground. But when I did the masters, my mind really opened to like, I learned new types of leadership, and I fell in love with one type of leadership that is called the seven leadership. You serve your leaders, and they become better leaders than you. You bring the
Yes.
better version of them. So this is things I didn't know about, unless I went through this training. I went other through other leadership training, and it really opened my mind. I think we have to talk about, guys, it's okay to be trained. And
Yeah.
leaders out there, is train your leaders. Please,
Yeah.
it's very important, because if you
Mhm.
don't train them, you don't know the kind of leadership that exercising on your employees. Please
Right.
take even if it's a 1 month training, or not even a 1 month conference, just one conference per month, just one conference to go to, or one conference in 3 months, just to train your leader, invest in your leader so that they can be better leaders and invest in the next generation. That's what I wanted to input on this point.
Yeah. Susie, I'm going to climb in on that one. And I I heard you saying it's okay to train your leaders. I'm going to go a little stronger on that. You have to train your leaders. There's no way around it. I mean, we're not going to get out of this hole without having people properly trained. And I think that was one of the big experiences that I had over the years, is the fact that so many people were promoted into leadership roles and management roles without proper training. And so,
Yes.
as you said earlier, you look around for a role model, or you look around for an example, and whatever it is, that's what you adopt and you carry forward. But if the company is really serious about their culture and about the people, the human resources that they have, they would put in place and enforce the proper way of doing these things. And I think that's where so many of the places, the companies, lose the plot, because a lot of them see it as just another box to tick, right? Another thing, but productivity is more important and everything else is more important ultimately. And so that training never happens the way it should. It never happens as regularly as it should. And it's also not taken on as a normal part of this is what we do in this company. It's seen as we have to tick the box. So on Monday, you have to be in training, and it should be 2 hours, but let's make it half an hour and get on with our day because we've got to go and make sales, right? And I think that's where the problem starts, is the fact that people are, one, they're not respectful of others' cultures, and just people in general that they're working with. But secondly, the fact that it's not seen as a really core part of a successful organization to
Mhm.
have that leadership and that training and that respect and that proper culture that you actually want to be proud of and that you want your people to respect, I don't think the focus and the emphasis is there. And I
Mhm.
think that's where so many companies are losing out, and so many employees and employers are having these bad experiences because it goes both ways, right? We've all probably also had experiences where employees have bullied the company because they
Yes.
could see the loophole, they could get away with something, and because a rule has never been enforced, they took advantage of it. And it does go both ways. And then again, I'm going to bring us back to the respect and the integrity part of things and go, if that were a normal part of your culture, of your life, of what you do as an individual, and that's the kind of people you're taking on, then integrity and proper training and everything else wouldn't be such a big problem down the line because you individualizing that experience for people. And this is something I always say, it starts with you. It might not be about you, but it starts with you as an individual. And I think that's something that we really can't forget, because one person, one rotten apple in that barrel is going to ruin the experience for everyone. And that is so important to remember. If you've got one person out of 500 that is bullying or not upholding the culture of the organization, you've got a problem.
Yeah, but sometimes the culture of the organization is harassment, you know. So
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to leave,
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and because some organizations they think it's like that. Uh, so, but I think it starts to change where people are changing, and I think this new generation, um, they are not so easy to bully. I have this feeling, maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
uh,
I agree with
I
you. They're
think they
not so easy.
stand up for their right, because the dialogue started like in the last 20 years. We talk much more about that, and so
Yes.
people are more aware about their rights.
Yes.
And so I say, okay, wait a minute, don't do that with me. No, 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 this is too
Yes.
much. and
Yes.
and and another field that I've been seeing a lot of complaining about, that it's in the educational system, like especially PhDs.
It's very
Oh my
toxic.
God, it's a huge uh, harassment,
Very
toxic
toxic.
environment. And what is the point? I don't get it. I
Mm.
really don't. But when I did my PhD, I saw a lot of colleagues leaving their advisor's office crying, literally. I say, oh my, I say, no, if I have to cry for a PhD, I'm
No.
going to the dean. Like,
Yeah.
no way. No, 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 no. This
Yeah.
is this is not even a chance. And so some people accept, some don't, and some people didn't learn how to raise for their rights. And I
Yeah.
think this is a very important lesson for
Really.
self-esteem
Yeah.
and self-respect.
And,
Yes.
and before we close, there's one thing I've always told like people I see is that it starts with you. You don't expect people to change so that you can be better. It starts with you. If you are a bullier, don't expect people to give you less of what you give them. So if you stay in that place of integrity, it's like, I'm not gonna bully anybody. The probability for you to attract people that will come on and bully you is less. And then the more people you work with, and if you have the strong presence, you stand your ground, people will start adapting to you, adapting
Yeah.
to your ways of doing it. And you see, before you know, you are a seed planted that has provided so many trees. You have a whole forest of you in the world. And that makes the world so much a better
Yeah,
place.
For
this is
sure.
beautiful. Yeah, that's it. Know how we can plant the seeds and take care of them for a better place.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have to close this episode. It's a very interesting topic, a lot of things to talk about, but
Yeah.
this is this is our end for now. So we would love you to subscribe to our channel. We would love to know if you were ever harassed, or if you were the ones and you didn't realize that up until someday. So tell us, share with us your history. We would love to know. And, and thank you so much, and see you next.
Goodbye, guys.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
We're crossing oceans, crossing skies, lifting each other as we rise. No more limits, no more walls. Together we answer the world's calls. World without borders, we are free, telling the stories of humanity. No more divide, we stand as one. Together, together, our journey's begun.